Hello, welcome back here. We're going to spend some time today on the theme of oneness, our essential oneness. It's an idea that, of course, you've heard before if you've seen any of these videos, and if you're just joining in, this is something I talk about a lot. So, welcome. Our essential oneness. And where we are today in the text of A Course in Miracles is we're wrapping up chapter 7. So we're at the tail end, section 11, and we're wrapping it all up here. Before we move on to the next section, Jesus spends some time talking about our essential oneness and how we, in fact, recognize that. So this quickly turns into a very important and very practical lesson here for us today, because it is something that we can all say. I mean, people have t-shirts that say one love. There are bumper stickers that say one love, right? There is oneness all over pop culture worldwide. But what does that really actually mean? And how do you come to experience it? Because as we know in life, it's one thing to say it, and it's a completely different thing to experience it. So we can talk all we want. We can talk about being one with our brother all we want. But without the practical experience, we don't know. It's just something that we say, or we wear on a t-shirt, or we put as a bumper sticker or a refrigerator magnet. In fact, I visited Jamaica several years ago, and I've got one of those refrigerator magnets. Yeah, in Rastafarian colors and everything. It says one love on it, and it's pretty cool. So let's talk about what that actually means in conjunction with A Course in Miracles, where we're taught and we're shown by our inner teacher repeatedly that we are, in truth, one. One of the biggest obstacles to anyone that studies this course is getting out of our intellectual thinking mind and into practical experience. In other words, overthinking things is a stumbling block. Quite naturally, that's not just true here in the study of A Course in Miracles, right? I mean, this is true of all of life. How often do you find yourself, or have you found yourself in the past, over-analyzing something, analyzing it to death, and going over plenty of fearful and nasty future scenarios that never come to pass? A lot of the things we worry about never happen anyway. And we waste the present moment worrying about them. Yeah. Attempting to understand all of this material purely intellectually is just as futile as worrying about something that never comes to pass. Because intellectual understanding, while it has value, yes, of course it does, but it only goes so far. It's not the end all be all. It's not enough to just say, okay, I'm one with my brother. What we have to do is convince ourselves of that through practical experience. We demonstrate to ourselves our essential oneness. We prove to ourselves our essential oneness. People demand proof in the world, and they demand proof from something outside of themselves. There's nothing outside of you. Want proof? You prove it to yourself. I certainly won't prove it to you. So This is what we do. This is ingenious on Jesus's part, on the Holy Spirit's part, of course, because it allows us to appreciate the power of our mind. Were he to just swoop in and wave a magic wand and make us instantly enlightened, that wouldn't help us. In fact, that would be a tremendous disservice, that one he's not going to do. Because we need here in our state as ego-clinging individuals, we need to come to appreciate our own power. Because the mind is so powerful that it has made all of this. It can unmake it. It's a choice. And we teach ourselves under the guidance of our inner teacher, who's part of our mind, not separate from us. We effectively teach ourselves. We prove this to ourselves, our essential oneness. Anytime we recognize the majesty of God as our brother, we accept our own inheritance. We accept who we are. Yes, let's repeat that. Very important. That's why we forgive. Any time we come to see, we accept the majesty of God as our brother, we accept our own inheritance. In other words, we come to know and appreciate who we are. When you see even one brother as he is, truly, you see the whole. There is no separation of any kind. Perceive one person truly, you perceive the whole, the totality of the whole. Guess what? You're included. You're not excluded from the whole. One equals one. There are not little individual castaways. No one is excluded. One. Recognize one part truly, and you recognize the whole, including yourself. We share the Holy Spirit with our brother, and we recognize that it's in our mind. We share something to keep it. Being, who we really are, is extended by sharing it. It's something that we share. We share the Holy Spirit with our brother. We share the love of God with our brother. We share ourselves with our brother, the love of God ourselves, the Holy Spirit, Son of God, one with God. We share with our brother. And here in the world, as a practical matter, some of you may have noticed this, and if you have not, when you make the decision to keep going on the spiritual path, you will begin to notice it, and you don't have to notice it in this lifetime. Incidentally, we're all free to decide that this course is completely worthless. I mean, that's a choice that you can make. And perhaps you've made it in the past, right? This book is famous for sitting on people's shelves for years while their mind just comes back to it every now and then, and it piques their curiosity. A Course in Miracles, one day I'll open that. One day. Here you are. So again, welcome. No going back. And isn't that a good thing, right? How we come to know who we are is by sharing. God, in creating us, shared his being with us. Think about what that means and our essential oneness. One with God. Yeah. God shared his being, himself, with us. Who are you? Being is extended. And that's how we know who we are, is by sharing it. We don't know who we are by keeping it to ourselves. That's why we say here in the Course that forgiveness is either total or it's not at all. Our choice, our present moment choice between God and the ego is one or the other. And our choice is total. So we can't keep little forms of hatred. We can't love on 99% of our brothers and hate the 1%. And we know that. So we have to have that repeated multiple times here in the Course in many different places and in many different ways, because what do? Well, we attempt to keep our little forms of hatred and disdain for certain individuals, scumbags, right? Or call them whatever name we want. This choice is total. God or the ego, love or fear. You can characterize that however you want. There are many ways to phrase that. That's the choice that we make in the present moment. So when we choose the love of God, the strength of Christ, the Holy Spirit, this thought system, we know it by sharing it. We share it. We extend love to our brother. Now, as a practical matter, you may come to notice that people are very calm in your presence, or you may notice that they're incredibly, one day, really receptive to you, drawn to you for reasons that perhaps they would not be able to articulate. Or you might not be able to articulate it either, but they're seeing themselves as you share the Holy Spirit with them. They're drawn to the Holy Spirit, our inner teacher. They're drawn to who they really are because you're sharing it with them. So that's what's going on. Could take any number of forms here in the world, depending on the people themselves, right? Depending on who you are in this lifetime and where you find yourself, the kind of people that you interact with, whether in person or online or both. Yeah. That's just an outward variance. What's going on inward is exactly the same one. You're sharing the Holy Spirit with them. They recognize themselves. So people will be more drawn to you without perhaps understanding why. In fact, they may even say, well, there's just something about you. Have you ever heard that? There's something, and perhaps the words that come out of their mouth include, you're just chill. Could be it, couldn't it? You're calm. You're very inclusive. You're safe. How about that? Huge compliment. Yeah, they're recognizing our inner teacher. They're recognizing the Holy Spirit as you share it, as you extend love. Love recognizes itself. We recognize ourself, capital S. So we can't run and hide. If you wish to have the peace of God, in other words, to awaken, then we can't run and hide. We either know the whole or we don't know any of it. Only here in the world, as we cling to this false idea called the ego, our individuality, we're one, we're not 8 billion. At one. I keep saying that. If this is the first time you've ever joined us, well, the word one comes up a lot. Happily, it's the only math involved in A Course in Miracles. It's the easiest math test you'll ever take. There is no algebra required, no calculus, no differential equations, for which I'm very thankful. And maybe you are too. We can't wall off certain people for our own disdain and blame and scorn. We forgive truly, totally, or not at all. The love of God, you, who you are, is total. One with God means one with God. It's totality. In order to know this totality, strength, power, joy, limitlessness, you extend it, you share it to keep it in your mind. Now, what does your forgiveness practice look like? Well, it varies here in the world. At its core is your relationship with your inner teacher and the acknowledgement that this separation that appears to have taken place never did take place. It never occurred. So we forgive what is simply an outward appearance, an illusion, the illusion of separation. So when our brother does something, we forgive our brother, or if he doesn't do anything, we forgive him anyway. And we forgive ourselves for dreaming this separation. And we release the situation, whatever it is, to our inner teacher. What happens then is our inner teacher shines the light of truth on it. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. So each act of forgiveness cancels the darkness. It just disappears. And it doesn't bludgeon the darkness. It doesn't kick fear in the face. Very important. We don't make it an opponent, because in perfect oneness, there are no opponents. And you have no opponents. Here in the world, we've made a lot of opponents. We've made political opponents. In sporting competitions, we have an opponent. At work, you may have created this fanciful scenario, dreamed it all up and made it up, where you have opponents and competition for what we deem to be scarce resources, or something that is a simple idea, such as the approval of the boss, or whatever the case may be. And these are just ways that we endlessly and needlessly complicate our lives, which are extraordinarily simple. Our job is to share the Holy Spirit with our brother, to extend love to the Son of God. And what else would we be here to do? Because as we go forward in life and go to work and pay the bills and take care of the physical body's needs to go to the bathroom or something, and feed itself and drink water and things like that, while we go through what passes for our lives here in the world, we don't have to believe that any of it is real, and we simply return our awareness to extending love to our brother. Our relationship with our inner teacher is paramount here. So if you're just joining me, you can call your inner teacher whatever you want to call it, by the way. It's an it. The Holy Spirit's not a man. It's not a human being. even though we use the masculine pronoun a lot. I use it a lot. Who cares? It's just a word, actually. The Holy Spirit is in it. It is a part of our mind that speaks for God. Hence the reference, the voice for God, here in the Course. It's our inner teacher. So under the guidance of our inner teacher, we're learning to see things as they are, one. We're learning to perceive truly a one, rather than the way we've made it 8 billion plus. There is no separation of any kind. And what we're doing here on the path is we're learning gradually, as need be, to relax and trust the guidance of our inner teacher, who will show us everything, what to do. Oh, yeah, in any situation, what to say and to whom, where to go, what to say, how to simply show up and extend the love of God to your brother totally, wholly, without holding back at all, because forgiveness is either total or it's not at all. So what happens when you have it total? You begin to notice that the veil grows thin, very thin. We're in the process of lifting it. What this means is that we're removing the barriers that we've ourselves put up to our awareness of truth, to our awareness of our essential oneness, one with God. We're removing the barriers to our awareness, one act of kindness, one act of forgiveness at a time. So our invitation is to do this often as we remember to do it, and lift the veil. It's what we all want. We call it going home, we call it enlightenment, we call it waking up, many different things here in the world. It's the experience of knowing God. It's the experience of knowing who we are. And as always, I thank you for joining me. So as we wrap up here, the subscription button is in the corner here. That's the red arrow, and I'd love to have you join us. So go ahead and click that and join us. Thank you to all of you who have recently joined. We've had quite a few in the last couple of weeks here. And what this means is really important. It means that you're dedicated and committed to your spiritual practice. So of all the offerings that you could ever possibly give here in the world, that is the highest. Your dedication and commitment to practice. You're sharing the love of God with your brother. Share yourself with your brother. Yeah. Come to know yourself as you share yourself with your brother. Share. Not hoard or hold back, share. It's very important. So I thank you for your dedication and commitment. Now here, with this video series, we have the opportunity for questions. So if you have questions here about any aspect of the spiritual path, in particular this course, then I'd love to hear from you. Please feel welcome to leave them here, and we'll continue on. We're going through the text of A Course in Miracles, and I will see you again on the next video. Thank you so much for joining me.